41,163 people move to Charlotte each year. That breaks down to 113 people a day. Most people don't actually know what living in Charlotte is really like. I mean, the traffic is getting terrible. There is construction everywhere. Prices are going up, and the weather has changed a lot in the last 5 years. Before you decide whether you should pack your bags and head on over to the Queen City, let's just have a real quick chat, okay? Before I move back to Charlotte, here are questions I wish I answered before I decided where to live. Let's start with, what does it actually cost to live here? One of the most appealing things about Charlotte is people are gonna say, Charlotte is cheap. But is it really? So here's some of the pros. Rent here can give you a lot more space for your money. A 3-bedroom townhome might cost less than a 1-bedroom in New York City or LA, and that is absolutely true. So you're gonna get so much more square footage. You're not gonna be living in a closet. You're gonna be living in an actual apartment. And with that amount of money, if you're already in the 2000s, you might be able to flip that into an actual mortgage, but we'll talk more about that later. Utilities, they are below average. You can have $150 for your gas or your electricity bill, $72 for water, $65, $70 for high-speed internet, depending on how fast you want it. I mean, we're at Google Fiber now, so you can get this fastest internet. Groceries average about $340 a month per person, especially if you decide to shop smart. Costco, Sam's, Walmart, all of those can help your groceries stay under $250 if you're a solo shopper. And for the most part, restaurants are reasonable. You can do a $20 meal, and it's gonna be delicious. $80 for a 3-course night out. Maybe a little closer to 100 with the inflation, but maybe it'll go back down, who knows. And here's the thing, there's no state tax on Social Security or inheritance. So those are all the good things, but I'd be a liar if I didn't tell you about some of the bad. So here are some of our cons. Prices are climbing fast. Since we have so many people moving in, the prices of average food is going up in restaurants, especially if they're on Instagram, new and trendy. So you might be paying a little bit higher than you're used to. Property taxes aren't as high, but they are definitely going up, especially with the rising costs in home values. And, we do have a lot of new construction and everything happening right now, so it is raising the value. Car-related costs. Now, this could be surprising. I had my car out in California, but I had no idea it was going to be 3% to bring it back to North Carolina. I was like, oh, that's cool. So that's fun. And then another thing you guys might not be used to is the HOAs. If you want to live in the city and you're looking for that walkable, beautiful area in one of the wards, well, guess what? A condo or a townhome, some of those HOAs start as high as $400 a month, $500 a month. It really depends on the amenities. More amenities, more HOA. And then older homes can drive up utility bills despite the average cost being low, especially if they need some updating. But while Charlotte can be affordable, just don't come in here thinking that everything's gonna be dirt cheap and it's the early 2000s for you. Smart budgeting still makes sense and it still matters here. Compared to cities like LA or Miami, Charlotte is still a value for the win. Now that we talked about how much it actually costs to live here, we got to figure out, are you going to make enough money to stay here comfortably? Let's talk about the job market. We got IT, healthcare, banking. Charlotte is offering all of that. Charlotte has a really strong job market, but is it the right for your industry, and can you actually get the job? So let's talk about some pros. It's the second largest banking hub in the US, home to Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and healthcare is also huge here. You got Atrium, Novant Health, and they hire thousands. There's a strong presence in manufacturing, energy, and professional services. And while the salaries may not be as high as they are in the West Coast, keep in mind, due to our lower costs of living, you're definitely going to get more bang for your paycheck. Nearly 30% of the workforce is remote, and Charlotte is growing its startup and tech scene rapidly. Microsoft actually has its campus only about 10 minutes from the city, so they're bringing in a lot of IT work, and even if you are remote, you still have the option to go to the office if you want to, just to mingle. Some of the cons: competitive sectors like finance and tech are flooded with applicants from across the country. Remember, I said 113 people per day move to Charlotte. That's a lot of people. It's a lot of jobs you're contending with. Entry-level salaries can feel low compared to major coastal cities. Some industries like federal jobs, luxury retail, or film have fewer openings. Newcomers without specialized skills or certifications may struggle to land roles quickly. So Charlotte has jobs, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're easy to get. Make sure you're being strategic about the industry and your networking and your timing. So if you have in-demand skills or remote flexibility, Charlotte can actually be a great place to upgrade your career with some breathing room in your budget. After this, let's definitely talk about one thing that families will care about: schools. Schools can make or break a move, so how does Charlotte stack up when it comes to public, private, and higher education? Some of the pros is that Charlotte-Mecklenburg is one of the largest school districts in Charlotte, with 143,000 students with a solid magnet and STEM program, which is actually really cool. When I was in middle school, I wanted to really focus on the arts, so I chose a school that specialized in the arts as opposed to just going to the neighborhood middle school. So that was really fun to have some options. Ultimately, I actually didn't go to that school. I went to a school that I made the cheerleading squad. So that in the end really mattered to me, and the school was good enough that my parents were okay with it. Anyway, some public schools are ranked among the best in North Carolina, and private and charter schools offer smaller class sizes and specialized learning models. And for the college-bound student, Charlotte has access to strong universities, really good state schools, any of the UNCs, UNC Charlotte, UNC Chapel Hill, UNC Wilmington, NC State. And then we also have a lot of really great private schools: Duke, Davidson, Wake Forest, just to name a few. I mean, if you want to find a college, North Carolina probably has one for you. Some of the cons are that public school quality depends heavily on zoning, and some are underfunded or overcrowded. You also have to be really careful because of the way they draw the school maps. You can be on one side of the street and go to one specific school, but if you are across the street, you might actually go to a different school. So it's just really important to pay attention to the zoning. Private school tuition can be expensive, and top magnet schools often have wait lists, which is also true. Figure out where you want to go, and get on those lists early. Families need to research neighborhoods carefully to land in a strong district. Good schools are here, but finding them takes planning, patience, and sometimes a higher budget. So if you're strategic, you can find a great home in a strong district without breaking the bank. Just don't leave it to luck. So let's talk about things that really matter to you: your quality of life and access to healthcare. So great cities take care of their people. Can Charlotte deliver top quality healthcare without big city headaches? Here's some pros for you. 2 major hospital systems. We have Atrium Health and Novant Health offers advanced care and modern facilities. Levine Children's Hospital provides full pediatric and specialty services. Charlotte offers excellent care in cardiology, oncology, orthopedics, and more. Over 60 senior care facilities make it a solid option for long-term aging. Here are some of the cons. Wait times in specialties can be long. Charlotte averages 46 days versus the US average of 38 days. Outlying suburbs have fewer providers, so access may vary. And out-of-pocket costs can still be high if your insurance doesn't align with the local networks. Charlotte delivers strong care. Just be ready to plan ahead and understand your coverage. And unless you have highly specialized needs, Charlotte care options will meet your expectations and often save you money over bigger metros. As a child, I actually have always been lucky enough to be a pretty healthy child. I've never even broken a bone before. We're gonna knock on wood because today will not be the day we do that. But the one time I did have to go to the emergency room, slammed my foot in the door, went into the ER, pretty much got in and out really quickly. I didn't even fracture anything. I think I just was complaining about it happening and made my parents take me to the ER. But I was totally fine, and it was really fast. But what about staying safe in the fast-growing city? Let's talk about crime and safety. Is Charlotte actually safe? Here are what the numbers say, and here are what the neighborhoods reveal. So here's some of your pros, okay? Crime rates are lower than other major cities like Atlanta, Miami, or Philadelphia. One of the reasons I actually moved away from California was that I was living in an area that once upon a time would have been considered a pretty safe area. I have a very tiny dog, and this tiny dog needs to go at least out to the bathroom 3 times a day. But I was at the point where I did not feel comfortable taking my dog even that far down the road anytime after 8 p.m. on this street that maybe 10, 12 years ago, I wouldn't have thought twice about. When I walk around the city, even today in Charlotte, my brother lives uptown, so we hang out uptown quite often. I don't really think twice. Obviously, I'm not like blah-de-da and not paying attention to my surroundings, because that's part of it. You should always pay attention to what's happening around you. But I am less concerned about what is happening around me in the city. It's very lit up. You do see, there is a big police presence for the most part. And overall, you feel pretty safe. If somebody's yelling at you, half the time it's to ask you a question or just chat with you, because that's a thing that we do here in the South. So if that matters to you, here's a couple more pros. Community policing and neighborhood watch programs are growing. Knowing your neighbors is a big thing. They'll give you a phone call if something weird is happening at your house. That's always a nice plus. Many neighborhoods feel secure, especially in suburban areas, and 80+ active watch programs and data-driven police responses help improve safety. Cons. Overall crime rate is still above the national average. Higher rates of property crimes like theft and burglary in urban zones. Safety perception varies by area. It's all about picking the right neighborhoods. So I'm not going to pretend that Charlotte doesn't have any crime and that you're so much safer, because obviously crime can happen anywhere. But it is safer than many growing metros. If you're looking for a house or you want to go visit somewhere you're going to live, drive around the block, see what's going on, go to the local grocery store. It's going to give you a good idea of that neighborhood. Ultimately, most residents feel safe about their day-to-day, especially when they're engaging in their community. So let's talk about getting around. Is Charlotte car-friendly or commuter chaos? Let's break down the transportation. Depending on where you are in Charlotte is really going to dictate whether you're going to need a car or not. It's actually really funny. So one of the things about living in California is it doesn't matter what time of day it is. There is going to be traffic. In California, the cool part was that there were Joann's probably 10 miles away from me. But do you know how long it took me to get to that Joann's? 35 minutes. 35 minutes to go 10 miles, okay? So now I moved back to North Carolina and I said, I gotta get to a Joann's. So this Joann's is 30 miles away, but do you know how long it took me to get there? 30 minutes. Why? Because it was 1 mile per minute. That's a big difference. The funny thing about Charlotte is the reason you're in the car so long is because things are actually that far away. Anyway, we'll talk about some pros. Charlotte has a light rail and over 90 bus routes offering growing coverage. And we got lots of highways, and they're well maintained. I-77, I-85, I-485. So they kind of help you, if you can't go one way because there's a lot of traffic or construction, you can probably jump on another highway and get yourself there. And the average commute is 25 to 30 minutes, almost anywhere. But with all the good, I gotta talk about the bad too. Rush hour traffic does exist, and it happens in the morning and it happens in the evening. So I-77 and I-85 are going to be backed up. Not all neighborhoods have reliable transit access yet, so if you're living in the suburbs, don't count on any of those buses coming your way. You're gonna have to drive to the train station, park your car, jump on the train, and then get to where you're going. So you can't really forego the car just yet. Downtown parking is limited and often expensive, especially during events. Yeah, that $5 parking lot during the week will be $30 during a Panthers game, so just plan accordingly. But Charlotte is still a car-first city, but options are growing, and they are, especially for central residents. So just be on the lookout if public transportation is important to you and you avoid peak hours. Commuting in Charlotte is manageable, and it's way better than Atlanta or LA. If you've ever driven to Atlanta, you will 100% say Charlotte is better. Take my word for it, okay? I mean it. So now that you guys know how you're getting places, let's talk about the weather. Is it a deal breaker or a dream? My dad has always had allergies. My mother does not have allergies. My brother had allergies when he was a child. This is all important, okay? I didn't have allergies. All of a sudden, I went to Guilford College, and it was spring. And I don't know what trees exist in Guilford that apparently didn't exist. This is Greensboro. In Charlotte, it's the first time I've ever had an allergy attack in my life. I thought I wanted to rip my eyeballs out of my head. And unfortunately, I have now had, for the most part, seasonal allergies ever since then. So yeah, if you've never had allergies, you may get them. If you already have them, they may be exasperated. You'll just have to come and figure it out. So Charlotte isn't freezing like Chicago or sweltering like Miami, but it does have its quirks. So let's break some of this down. We got some mild winters, highs in the 50s, rare snow. And if you really want snow, you can head to the mountains. They're not that far away. We have long springs and falls with the average highs in the 60s and 70s, which I absolutely love. Give me a warm summer's night any day. I think that's my favorite type of weather. We have 218 plus sunny days a year. It's great for outdoor living. And you're definitely going to get all 4 seasons without too many extremes. But saying that, we got to talk about some of the bad things. Summers are hot and humid, and they are 90 plus up to 100, or it might feel like that even if it isn't. So we are AC central. AC bills spike in July and August. We've been having a weird season. It's been getting either like super warm way early, even April. April had a lot of hot spots, and then all of a sudden it drops down to the 40s. Like, what are we doing? Some winters have long gray spells. That is true. You kind of just have the grayness of the winter. But if you like winter, then it's your time to shine. Thunderstorms are occasional, and tornadoes warnings happen in the summer. I will say thunderstorms, my dog is terrified all the time. And he can tell you a thunderstorm is coming a good 30 to 40 minutes before the first crack of thunder. They happen quite a bit. So with that, you're gonna sweat in the summer, but you're not gonna have to shovel in the winter, and that can be a big pro. And that trade-off works for most people. The climate offers outdoor and friendly living most of the year, but you need to bring sunscreen and make sure you have maybe a raincoat or an umbrella in your car. Let's talk about geography. Where does Charlotte sit, and how does that location change your lifestyle? So one of my major jokes to my friends back in California is that it's 4 hours to anywhere. Do you want to go to Atlanta? 4 hours. Do you want to go to some parts of Tennessee? 4 hours. Do you want to go to Virginia? 4 hours. You can pretty much get to so many different places in about 4 hours, which some would say that's pretty convenient. So you have lots of options. You don't just have to stay here. Also, North Carolina is big enough that 4 hours can take you to the beach, can take you to the mountains, depending on where, because we also have both of those things. Maybe not the beach, but definitely the mountains a little bit closer. Some of our pros, right? Mountains, just 1.5 to 2 hours away. Beaches, easy 3 to 4 hour drive. We got lakes, we got parks, we got hiking trails all around the city. And also the Charlotte airport, super close. The Charlotte airport connects you to most of the country affordably. And if for some reason you don't want to use the Charlotte airport, you have Raleigh, you have Asheville. There are other airports to be found, so you have lots of flight options. Charlotte itself is flat, so don't expect dramatic views in the city. As the city grows, once quiet suburbs are seeing more traffic and construction. Some new neighborhoods lack transit or walkability at first. So while you don't get mountain views out your window, you're never too far from a weekend escape. Charlotte's central locations give you the best of both worlds, access to nature and city convenience. While the location is great, what is life like when you get off work? Let's talk about what does a weekend look like in Charlotte? From sports to concerts to festivals, there is something for everyone. We got pro teams, we got the Panthers, we got the Hornets, we got Charlotte FC, and we got NASCAR. Concert venues like Spectrum Center and PNC Pavilion bring major acts. Here's the crazy part. I'm old enough to remember when the PNC Pavilion was called the Blockbuster Pavilion. RIP. My friend Amber and I, shout out Amber, we went and saw No Doubt, and it was incredible. And I became such a concert lady after that. I love a good live show. So being super close to PNC Pavilion and the Spectrum Center to see other concerts is really great. Local spots like Fillmore and neighborhood theaters support rising artists. Food truck Fridays, cultural festivals, and brewery tours are regular events. We have got a massive craft beer scene, 40 plus breweries, and I'm sure and counting. But Big events can bring traffic jams and pricey parking. Ticket prices aren't cheap for major games or concerts. That's true. They've definitely gone up. Families may want more kid-specific attractions beyond weekend parks. Charlotte isn't a party capital, but it does deliver consistent crowd-pleasing entertainment. Whether you're into sports, beer, or live music, there's always something happening without the chaos of New York City or LA. What about your actual day-to-day lifestyle? Charlotte offers a mix of city life and suburban calm, but what's it really like to live here every day? Short commutes can give you more time for family hobbies or relaxing. There's so many parks that are great for kids, pets, and outdoor lovers. Family-friendly neighborhoods with top schools and safe environments, and if you're in a community, weekend activities, monthly activities, clubs, neighborhood pools. It gives a lot of opportunities for kids to gather. Work-life balance is a real thing here, not just a buzzword. But rapid growth will bring more traffic and construction and a higher demand on infrastructure. Insects and humidity, especially mosquitoes, can be annoying. So make sure you have your bug spray because you will be eaten alive. And some areas feel mid-upgrade as they expand. Life in Charlotte is what you make of it. There's comfort and calm, but there's also energy and change. If you want space, safety, and community with access to growing in the city, Charlotte checks a lot of boxes. So let's talk about the feel of the city. I've always said that Charlotte is a clean and safe city. Like, it's cute. That's probably the word I would use to describe it. Charlotte, what is it? It's cute. So what is the vibe of Charlotte? Clean, lively, corporate? Let's break it down. One of the cleanest cities in the U.S., well-maintained, organized, and green. Strong sense of local pride in each neighborhood and options for all lifestyles. South End for creatives, Ballantyne for families, Uptown for young professionals. Cons. Yes, there are some. The strong finance presence gives it a polished, sometimes corporate feel. Charlotte's cultural voice is still developing compared to older cities, and not everyone feels the creative energy right away. Sometimes you gotta look for it a little bit. While you might not see a bunch of districts that have been around 100 plus years, you will find pride, order, and potential. Some of the other cons is that it does feel quiet. When you think of a city, you don't necessarily think Charlotte. Charlotte's not giving you that city vibe. It's like giving you a little bit calmer, except for on the weekend where it does get a lot more lively. But during the week, it's not 24/7. Charlotte is definitely tamer than that, which I think a lot of people might think is a pro and not a con. But if you are still in that party time vibe, you might not be that excited by it, and that's okay. I always feel really comfortable, and I do love that there are so many little hidden gems, because as an elder millennial, where do I go? I'm not trying to do the club scene anymore. I'm like, my back hurts. I'm tired, but I still want to go out, and there are places for me and others to sit where the music's not too loud. I can still have a conversation. I'm out in public. I'm doing it. That's kind of how I feel. But that's my vibe. What's your vibe? Tell me about your vibe down below. I can talk a little bit about going back and forth from California and Charlotte, because I'd always at least make a trip back to California once a year. And obviously these are two very different places and a different time period, because I think in general, the club culture has changed. I was doing clubs and whatnot during Laguna Beach. And at this moment in time, I'd come back, the Epicenter. I don't know if anybody remembers it, but the Epicenter had just been built. And it actually was jumping. That was a really fun period of time. There wasn't a huge difference at that moment in time between LA and what people were going out to do and Charlotte. They were very similar. Now I would have to say, obviously, LA is always going to be LA. But Charlotte maybe it's in its tamer phase. Maybe it's trying to find itself. Maybe we'll get more of that excitement and club vibes back, but maybe we won't, and that's okay too. But either way, if you're looking for things to do, whether it be a club or a bar or a new secret event, the city probably has it. You gotta look for it. That's kind of what it is. But we're gonna talk about culture now, all right? Southern charm or city hustle? What kind of culture does Charlotte really have? Some of the pros is that in Charlotte, you still get that classic Southern hospitality. People greet strangers, people say hi to you, people support neighbors. Strong volunteer and community involvement and local events bring together all kinds of people, not just one type of crowd. Some of the cons is that the culture isn't always obvious. So if you're coming from somewhere else, you might not know where to find it. Uptown and the suburbs can feel like totally different worlds, and it takes time to feel plugged in socially or creatively. Culture here won't hit you over the head, but it builds quietly as you explore. But if you give it time, Charlotte's culture is going to grow on you. And it's not bold, it's definitely genuine. When we first moved here from New York, the first thing, my dad's driving down the road and all of a sudden somebody waves at him. And he's, as a New Yorker, he's like,
Why is that guy waving at me?
he did politely wave back, but he's like, that's weird. And then he keeps driving and more people are waving to him as he's driving. And he's like, is my gas tank open? Like, what's the deal? But then he just realized that's a thing. People wave to you when you are in your neighborhood, or I don't know, if you make direct eye contact with them on a street corner, you might get a little wave, a little hello. And that's just something you'll have to get used to. Okay, well, let's talk about something people always ask: politics. I personally believe that Charlotte is a very tolerant city. I think that you can be from any walk of life and you will find acceptance here. And I find that in Charlotte, it's easier to have conversations with people who may have opposing views to you, but it's not going to be an argument. Everybody is pretty respectful about letting each other live and let live. I think that's one of the big pros of living in Charlotte. Many people are registered as independent, and there is a tolerance for different views. Charlotte is definitely people first. Most residents value respect over arguments. Some of the cons you may hear are don't bring your bag policies here if you're moving from elsewhere, and some rural residents resist change, which can slow progress on issues like transit and schools. But politics are not as polarizing here, and they're not as bad as national media might make it seem. In Charlotte, people might not agree, but they usually get along, and that counts for a lot. There you have it. Let's wrap this thing up. Charlotte isn't just one thing. It's a city that's growing, changing, and full of new people and possibilities. If you're one of them, don't miss my exclusive home deals in Charlotte. Just click the link in the description to check them out. If you're not sure if Charlotte is the right place for you, go ahead and check out the Charlotte's Vibe Quiz. It is going to tell you about the different neighborhoods and what your possible vibe may be. Feel free to book a call with me and we'll talk. No pressure. And if you are seriously thinking about moving, your next step is picking that right neighborhood for you. And this video will help you do just that. But with me, Inga, your real estate bestie. Bye.